Tennessee football, less than impressive on Saturday. What that means for Florida week.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, welcome into it, your Monday morning Locked On Vols. I am your host, Cain. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first watch, your first listen each and every single day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day, the number one sports podcasting network available right now, and free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Cain. I'm a member of the VolQuest.com team here in town, and I cover your Tennessee Volunteers every day. Don't forget your shows tomorrow. Get in those questions, comments, concerns for the mailbag show at _Cainer and at Locked On Vols. Today's show is going to be a good one. We're going to look ahead to Florida. It is officially Florida Week. Big deal coming up. Florida Week, it always means something. Don't care about what the records are. Don't care about what your feelings are for this specific season. It is a massive deal for whenever Tennessee plays Florida. Going to look ahead to what the Gators have done here in recent memory. That's coming up later in the show. Before that, Pro Football Focus. Stats that actually matter from Tennessee's win over New Mexico State. But a couple of takes here after we've slept a couple nights and had a chance to go back and review Tennessee's 42-9 win over New Mexico State. And the good, the bad, the ugly. All that and more from Tennessee's win over the Aggies. All right, so Tennessee wins 42-9. Again, this game was never, ever in jeopardy. Tennessee was never, ever losing this game, but boy, did Tennessee make it less than impressive in this showcase. And the reason for that, offensive struggles. In the first half, for the second straight week, Tennessee tallied second straight game, Tennessee tallied two first-half turnovers. All four of those turnovers combined have been Joey Aguilar interceptions, and that's unfortunate because Joey Aguilar, again, at current standing through 10 games in the SEC's regular season, among the SEC quarterbacks in the regular season, Joey Aguilar continues to lead Joey Aguilar continues to lead the Southeastern Conference in passing at 2,941 yards and is tied for the league lead with 22 touchdowns. He's been tied up there with Ty Simpson of Alabama, Marcel Reed's in that conversation, Trinidad Chambliss is in that conversation, Taylon Green's in some of those metrics as well. He's kind of been right around those guys the last couple of weeks, but through 10 games in the regular season, Joey Aguilar continues to lead the Southeastern Conference in passing and is tied for passing touchdowns, as second in quarterback rating. He's got over 3,000 yards of total offense on the year, joining Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton as quarterbacks in the Josh Heupel era to accomplish that in a single season here at Tennessee. And so he's had a good year, but the turnovers are starting to mount and creep up a little bit. Joey Aguilar now is tied for second in the SEC, along with Taylon Green of Arkansas, behind DJ Lagway of Florida, who we're going to see this week, for 10 interceptions in the league. Lagway's got 13, Taylon Green and Joey Aguilar have 10. So kind of the reputation that preceded Joey Aguilar coming into Tennessee, turnovers, interceptions, reckless, stuff like that, it's starting to kind of catch up with them. And that's unfortunate because Joey was so good earlier in the year, and we could attribute this interception to this interception to this. Here lately, I mean, even one you could maybe put on Miles Kitselman on Saturday, but fact of the matter is that wasn't a good placed ball, and two of those four picks in the first half the last couple of weeks, throwing over the middle, right to a safety. Getting pressure from the backside a little bit, and just sailing the football over the middle of the field, and it's picked off. That is not what you want. And, Tennessee, the first pick, the Miles Kitselman pick, happened on the drive number 1 of the game. That was unfortunate. Tennessee responds and goes touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. The third touchdown goes 99 yards on 13 plays, which was awesome. But after that third touchdown to make it 21-0 in the first quarter, Tennessee's next 4 offensive possessions, they go interception, punt, and then the half. Tennessee combined for 27 yards on 8 plays over its final 3 possessions in the first half. And because of that, because of those miscues, and because of that other turnover in there, Tennessee had to play the starters in the second half. Tennessee had to play, and there was no ifs, ands, buts about it. The starters were coming out in a game that Tennessee, again, was never going to lose, but they looked horrific there in that second quarter. And so they came out and they played the third quarter. They went down there and scored a touchdown, 11 plays, 75 yards. That was good to see. Scored another touchdown on its next possession, 11 plays, 60 yards. And that obviously the game was in control. They had it 35 to 3 at that point in time. But because the starters had to continue to play a little bit, you open yourself up to what this game does sometimes, and that's injuries. And that's a part of the game. I'm not going to harp on this too much, but I do think I do think we got to talk about it a little bit, and we'll get into some personnel decisions here in a moment. Because the offense played so bad in the second quarter, they were left in there to play in the third quarter and beyond. And on one of those drives up 28-3 in the third quarter of a game you're never going to lose, Wendell Moy goes down. Miles Kitselman goes down. Deshaun Bishop, which Deshaun Bishop was fine, he went down. Injuries are part of football, but you never, ever want to see that in a game. Again, you're up 28-0 late in the third quarter in a game you were never going to lose. But the offense needed work because it was so bad earlier. So you attribute a lot of that to the offensive miscues in the second quarter, and that's really frustrating. We'll see what Miles Kitselman's situation is this week, and of course Wendell Moy. We'll see what that situation is. To some personnel decisions, when Wendell Moy went out, Jesse Perry, who is one of the many Tennessee players that were held out of this game that could have played, but because, well, it was New Mexico State, a chance to rest another week before getting into the Florida week. Jesse Perry was dressed and ready to go in emergency situations. Up 28-3 in a game against New Mexico State does not qualify as an emergency situation. Wendell Moy went out and Jesse Perry went in. Like, what are we doing? What a silly thing to do. I do not understand that. That makes no sense to me. You know what else that makes sense to me? Colton Hood playing in the fourth quarter. Andre Turrentine playing in the fourth quarter. What are we doing? Like, why on earth is Colton Hood your best defensive player playing in a meaningless game of 42-3 in the fourth quarter against New Mexico State? Makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. So, again, one of those games where, the defense, I thought, did some good things. And I'm going to rattle off a few of those things here. 9 points, that's a season low. And, again, I recognize who Tennessee's playing. It's New Mexico State. But Tennessee did rattle off, allowed 9 points, which was a season low. Tennessee allowed 340 yards of total offense to the Aggies. That was the second lowest total for the Vols this season defensively. Tennessee forced a pair of turnovers, continues to be one of the SEC leaders in takeaways, all right? You scored off one of those turnovers for your sixth defensive touchdown of the season. That is good enough for second in the nation, the most defensive touchdowns for Tennessee since 1996. Tennessee allowed 27 yards rushing, less than 1 yard per carry. That's a phenomenal stat. And for the second straight week, Tennessee's defense missed only 5 tackles. Those are all good things. Those are good things. So tip your cap to the defense on that. Those were good things, and those were expected good things because you were playing New Mexico State. Here's what wasn't good. And the way the game was played just a little bit kind of skews it, so I recognize that up front. But New Mexico State compiled 380 yards on 83 plays. That's the third highest offensive output of the season for the Aggies. Threw for a season high 313 yards, which is just mind-blowing that that's a season high for them. But they threw for a season high 313 yards. And again, playing from behind, you had to throw the football. Tennessee shut down the run, so they were completely one-dimensional. But 313 yards, a season high for the Aggies. 24 first downs is the second most of the season for New Mexico State. 24 first downs. Holy crap. Also, New Mexico State converted on 8 third downs. That was 8 of 19. But they converted on 8 third downs. Tennessee's defense gave up just too much, too many yards, way too many yards, especially through the air. That type of stuff can hurt you against Southeastern Conference players like Florida has, and DJ Lagway and some of those receivers for the Florida Gators. So anyway, up and down day for Tennessee's defense. Again, score-wise, did what you're supposed to. That's a job well done. Creating takeaways, scoring off those takeaways, that's awesome. Gave up way too much through the air. So, again, I say all this to say, Tennessee won 42-9. Tennessee is 7-3 on the season, a chance to finish 9-3, or depending on these next 2 games, we'll see what happens. But we're sitting here nitpicking a game that Tennessee won 42-3, and I'm not, or 42-9. And I'm not saying, oh, how times have changed, this is a good thing, yada yada yada. We're past that, right? We're past that. I just think the majority of the people leaving the stadium on Saturday night was like, man, Tennessee dominated. Tennessee was never going to lose this game. But goodness gracious, you don't feel like Tennessee played well. And this type of game was supposed to be used to sprint into Florida week. Sprint. Feel good about yourselves. Have some confidence heading into a Florida week against your rival, and certainly a place that you've not won at since 2003 in the Swamp. And Tennessee didn't accomplish that, in my opinion. So I think that's kind of a missed opportunity. We'll see where Tennessee is health-wise. Of course, they're going to get Arion Carter back and Jesse Perry back and Joshua Joseph back and a lot of these other guys who were held out for this one. So that's going to be good. But Tennessee had a good opportunity just to do a lot of things well and feel good about yourselves. And it didn't necessarily do that. Won in convincing fashion, got the win, all that, but like it could have been so much better, and it should have been so much better, in my opinion. So the good, the bad from Tennessee's 42-9 win over New Mexico State. And now it is Florida week, and we'll tell you all about the Florida Gators coming up this week. We'll have a crossover. We'll talk Florida specifically in this show in segment 3 coming up here in a few minutes. All that and more as we continue on. Exciting times this week here on Locked On Vols. But before we get to Florida, Pro Football Focus stats that actually matter from this game from Tennessee and New Mexico State. I already told you one, the missed tackles. What's another one? That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. The NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on all that action than over at FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game and want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to those fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team's making that late game push. Incredible offers right now for new customers over at FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first bet of $5 wins. That's $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. It's where you can get those future bets in for college basketball that's happening right now. And it's all over at FanDuel where you can make every moment more. FanDuel Sportsbook. Tennessee wins 42-9 over New Mexico State. The salute to service game, homecoming. I love Joey Aguilar. It was the second touchdown of the game. His 27-yard quarterback keeper, and he got in the end zone, and he saluted. It was a salute to service game. I thought that was pretty cool. But Tennessee overall handled business. It was easy. It was an easy win. But the path to handling business wasn't necessarily sweet and efficient, if you know what I'm saying. Let's look at the Pro Football Focus. I'm not going to go through the grades or anything, but Tennessee played on the offensive end 35 different players. Tennessee on the defensive end in this football game played 40 different players. We'll look at Joey Aguilar first. Of course, we know the box score stats. Joey Aguilar, minus those 2 picks, he had a really good day stat-wise. 17 of 23. He completed 74% of his passes, 204 yards, and a touchdown. Again, had those 2 picks. So you take those 2 picks away, you can't do that. But if you did here for this exercise, 17 to 23, 204, and a touchdown, that's not a bad day at the office. But those 2 picks were costly and really halted some drives right there. But you look at what Joey Aguilar did in this football game. Aguilar was down the field. He was 1 of 3. That was that Chris Brazzell 45-yard reception on the first drive that set up the Deshaun Bishop 1-yard touchdown run. He was 1 for 3 on passes down the field. He was 4 for 5 on intermediate game for 62 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He was 4 for 6 on short passes and 8 for 8 for passes behind the line of scrimmage. Look at pressure and how he did in terms of dropping back. He was kept clean on 84% of his dropbacks under pressure, 16% of his dropbacks. He was not blitzed 68% of the time. He was blitzed 32% of the time. When he was blitzed, he went 5 for 8, 2 interceptions. So both his interceptions came off blitzes. He was 5 for 8, 46 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. When he was under pressure, he was 1 for 4 with a pick and 12 yards. So clearly pressure, though he wasn't under pressure a lot in this football game against New Mexico State, when he was affected by that. And again, this is the second straight game where he's kind of had pressure from the backside a little bit, maybe getting hit or maybe forcing his throw to kind of hurry up a little bit. And he just sails it over the middle of the field, which is not what you want, obviously. Let's look at coverage for the secondary guys. Colton Hood was targeted 11 times, gave up 7 receptions for 53 yards. Ty Redmond, who I thought played a phenomenal football game, was targeted 7 times, gave up 4 receptions for 21 yards. I thought Ty Redmond had a really, really good game. Colton Hood had 2 pass breakups. Ty Redmond had 1 pass breakup and 1 one-handed interception. It was a thing of beauty. Trey Poteet, when he was in the football game, targeted 4 times, gave up 2 receptions for 9 yards. William Wright, who played a lot of corner in this game, targeted 3 times, gave up 2 receptions for 20 yards. And, of course, he had that pick 6 on the Tyree West batted ball. So he had the pick six and accounted for one of the touchdowns, one of the 6 defensive touchdowns of the season for Tennessee. Jalen McMurray, 2 targets, 1 reception. Evan Spillman, 3 targets, 3 receptions. Andre Turrentine, 2 targets, 1 reception. Jaden Harmon, 2 targets, 2 receptions. Ben Bolton, 2 targets, 2 receptions. Jaden Perlotti, 4 targets, 4 receptions. Caleb Beasley, who played a lot of safety in this game, 41 snaps, 4 targets, 2 receptions. And Timothy Merritt coming in playing cornerback, targeted 3 times, gave up 3 receptions for 31 yards in this football game. Back to defense. Let's do some snap counts here. Dominic Bailey, only 35 snaps, which I thought was really good for a game like this. Colton Hood, 67 snaps. And again, why is Colton Hood playing into the fourth quarter? It makes no sense to me. Ty Redmond, 47 snaps. William Wright, 26 snaps. Edwin Spillman, 31 snaps. David Hobbs, who had 9 tackles to lead Tennessee defensively, 39 snaps. Thought he played very well. Jalen McMurray played 64 snaps. Tyree West, 21 snaps. Dylan Lewis playing a little safety, played 18 snaps, a true freshman. Jarice Farouk, 47 snaps. Ben Bolton, 30 snaps. It's got to be a career high for him. Andre Turrentine, 50 snaps. Jeremiah T-Lander, 24 snaps. Kellen Lindstrom on the defensive line at Leo, 26 snaps. So a lot of that was good to see. So, again, 5 missed tackles in this football game. Let's see here. Who are those missed tackles from? Ben Bolton had a missed tackle. Andre Turrentine had a missed tackle. Caleb Beasley had a missed tackle. Marion Dye had a missed tackle. And Timothy Merritt had a missed tackle. So technically only one starter had, of the Tennessee starters, only one missed tackle, and that was attributed to Andre Turrentine. Look at some of the Pro Football Focus, the box score stats that matter. Again, Tennessee did a really good job of limiting the run, making New Mexico State one-dimensional. Tennessee, 27 yards rushing allowed on 30 carries. That's averaging a little less than 1 yard per carry, 0.9 yards per carry. So I thought that was, really, really good. Tennessee had 3 running backs that found the end zone. I thought Deshaun Bishop had a really good game. 16 carries, 80 yards. He averaged 5 yards per pop. Peyton Lewis, I thought, looked pretty good. 42 yards on 10 carries. Star Thomas, 30 yards on 5 carries. He had that 21-yard touchdown, so that was good to see. Jake Merglier came in for 1 series. George McIntyre played 2 series. I thought that was very notable. Braylon Staley, 58 yards, 5 receptions, a touchdown. Chris Brazel, 3 receptions, 5 targets, 65 yards, 45 of that coming on one play. Mike Matthews, 3 catches, 4 targets, 29 yards. Tennessee had 22 first downs. New Mexico State, 24 first downs, which is too much. Tennessee ran it for 194. What did I say on the show on Friday? Tennessee, if it has anything less than 250 yards rushing, I found that disappointing, and I do find this disappointing. Tennessee should have ran for a lot more yards. Tennessee had 413 yards total offense on 66 plays, 6.3 yards per play. Very clean penalty game. In fact, I've got a stat here from Brent Hubbs' morning after. Number 7, inside the numbers. Number 7. Number of penalties by Tennessee the last 2 ball games. That's the best 2-game total since the early portion of 2021. Tennessee, I said 2000 because I thought it was 2001, but it's 2021. 2021, Tennessee has been flagged 20 times in the last 2 trips to Florida. 20 times in the last 2 trips to Florida. So that is very interesting there. So obviously you got to continue to play clean. You've got to continue to do what you've been doing the last couple of games, because managing the crowd noise, procedural penalties, pre-snap penalties, all those things are going to be coming into play. So Tennessee's been playing pretty clean from a penalty standpoint. Didn't have their first penalty until really late in the third quarter. I thought that was interesting. Aguilar, 4 interceptions the last 2 first halves. That's not very good. 6 defensive touchdowns for Tennessee, which obviously is the second most in the country and the most in the program history since 1996. Some defining moments. Aguilar to Brazel to set up score number 1. Again, that went to 45 yards. I thought he got in, but he set the table there for Deshaun Bishop's 1-yard touchdown run. Ty Redmond's interception, that came off Joey Aguilar's interception. So Ty Redmond got an interception on a slant one-handed thing of beauty, and that set up Aguilar's 27-yard touchdown run. The second interception in the first half for Joey Aguilar, The defense forced a turnover on downs at midfield, so they went 4 yards. They went 9 yards on 4 plays, so the defense did its job really, really good on that drive. And then I thought after the horrendous second quarter offensively, Tennessee opened the third quarter off right, 2 quick touchdowns. That first one went 11 plays, 75 yards. Tennessee ran it 7 of the 11 plays and just kind of drove it down the throat. I thought it did a really good job in that regard. So those are some of the Pro Football Focus stats that matter. Some other things that I thought were pretty interesting from this football game as Tennessee continues to get ready for the Florida Gators. It is Tennessee and Florida. It is Gator Hater Week, and we're going to talk about it all right here on Locked On Vols all week long. Don't forget to send in your questions, your comments, your concerns, anything you guys have for the mailbag edition of the show. Maybe we'll have some clarity on Boo Carter. Maybe after I do this and schedule this and all that, maybe something will happen. Boo Carter obviously did not play in this football game, was not at the stadium, did not play against Oklahoma. Josh Heupel not pleased. It's been that type of year for Boo Carter. I spoke a lot about that on Saturday's post-game show. So go back and check that out if you missed it. Obviously, some injuries we're going to be keeping track of as well. But big week coming up. Any way you want to spin it, this is a massive week for Tennessee football against Florida, trying to continue to finish off the right way, trying not to let a team that is not as good as you win at home in a place of horrors for Tennessee, that being the Swamp. So again, a big week coming up. We'll have you covered every step of the way. We'll talk to some interesting guests as well right here on Locked On Vols. But send in those questions for tomorrow's mailbag show. Let's learn about those Florida Gators. What have they done lately? That is coming up next as we continue right here at your Monday Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. College football has been back for a little bit. Only a couple of games left in the regular season. It's kind of sad, right? The tailgates, the rivalries coming up this week, the energy in the stands. We're going to miss it. But it's been such a blast this football season. Sometimes we realize that getting tickets to football games are sometimes tougher than the game itself, but not with Game Time. There's no endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. With Game Time, it's an app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score on last-minute tickets at the best prices, so no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you get. I pulled up the Game Time app, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. As low as $25. How about that? The app made it super simple. I could see my exact views from the seats that I was going to buy and purchase by using the Game Time app. And, we've done that for Smokies tickets in the summer as well. So nothing but good things to say about the Game Time app. So I love it. Our family loves it. You could as well. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Put in that promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Go ahead and download the Game Time app today. Tennessee and the Florida Gators. Gator Hater Week, Tennessee, Florida. Big rivalry game, and I know Alabama's a massive rivalry game, the third Saturday in October. Tennessee, Florida, from my generation, those of us that are in our early 30s, Tennessee and Florida began playing on an annual basis, beginning in 1992, and that's going away, obviously, but Tennessee and Florida playing this year as the annual opponents for Tennessee moving forward, or, Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. So it's a big deal. I don't like Florida at all. I know you guys listening don't like Florida at all. And Florida's an interesting team because you just look at the records. And I know most of us, if we're listening or watching this show, you're diehard Tennessee fans. So you look past just the records on the schedule or just the final scores and all that. I mean, you look at Florida, and on paper, this is an abysmal football team. 3-7, 2-5 in conference play, 0-5 away from its home stadium. Or 3-1 at home, and fired its head coach a couple of weeks ago and kind of limping to the finish line. 2 weeks ago, Florida absolutely quit and gave up against Kentucky in the second half. Kentucky won that football game 38-7. 38-7 2 weeks ago. But look at the week before that. Florida came up so close against Georgia, 24-20 in the world's largest cocktail party, whatever that's called now. 24-20 was the score a couple weeks ago against Georgia in Jacksonville. That's a very, very good football game. Last week, 34-24. This past Saturday, 34-24 to Ole Miss, which is a college football playoff team. A month ago, 23-21. The last time Florida played in the Swamp was back on October the 18th and won over Mississippi State 23-21. And we know from experience, again, you want to look at a team that just on paper is awful. That's Mississippi State, but we know Mississippi State has got something with Jeff Lebby, or at least I think they do. I think Mississippi State's going to be okay with Jeff Lebby. Hopefully they be patient with Jeff Lebby because I think he's a good coach. But anyway, 23-21, won in that game. Lost by 2 touchdowns at College Station earlier in the season, 34-17. It did beat Texas 29-21. Beat Texas 29-21. Lost to Miami 26-7. Lost to Baton Rouge, or lost to LSU in Baton Rouge way back when earlier in the season. Turning the football over 5 times on the road, one of that being a pick 6, and LSU still only beat Florida by 10 points at 20-10. Lost to South Florida. That's easily the worst loss on the schedule for. And again, Alex Golesh is doing a fantastic job down there. But Florida should never, ever lose to the likes of USF or UCF, ever. And then, of course, you had a couple cupcake wins, or cupcake win to begin the season, 55-0 over LIU. So a team that's been all over the map, a team that you thought was done, put a fork in it, they're done a couple weeks ago in Lexington, only to come back and go to Oxford and play really, really challenging football on the road and lose by 10 at 34-24. Here's where I see some opportunity in this game, okay? In that game against Kentucky where they just got blitzed, DJ Lagway was benched. He came back and started against Ole Miss and played a pretty decent football game, but he was benched the week before. I already mentioned he's thrown an SEC high 13 interceptions, and I think he's a phenomenal athlete. I think that he can turn into a good quarterback, but I said all offseason, I don't understand why everybody's hyping up DJ Lagway, and honestly Lenora Sellers for that matter, as being these Heisman Trophy type quarterbacks. Last year, when he took over from Graham Mertz after he got injured in the Tennessee game and throughout the rest of the season, DJ Lagway threw 9 picks, 13 touchdowns, 9 picks. Like, he's got a turnover problem. He always has. In 2 years at Florida, everybody wants to talk about Joey Aguilar, 24 picks in 2 years at Appalachian State. DJ Lagway, that doesn't throw nearly as many passes that Joey Aguilar did during that 2-year stretch at App State, has, 13 picks? So 13 picks, 22 picks. 22 picks and not even 2 full seasons. He has a turnover issue. So I think there's a excellent opportunity there. I would assume that they're going to go with DJ Lagway because he played this last game and he did okay. 16 of 31, 218, a touchdown and interception. I mean, he's had much worse stat lines in that regard. But here's where there's some opportunity. And I wish Tennessee just ran all over New Mexico State because that's what I expected. Still nearly 200 yards, which is, not bad, but it should have been so much better. I think there's opportunity on the ground against Florida because Ole Miss, and I understand Kawan Lacey is a fantastic player, Ole Miss ran for 237. 237. Actually gained 264. I guess sacks took away about 30 yards almost there, or over 30 yards. 264 on the ground. 237 is what they netted in this football game. What an opportunity there for Tennessee's run game. Deshaun Bishop, Star Thomas, Peyton Lewis, Joey Aguilar. Just run the football. And Tennessee hasn't run the football as good as it needs to all season long. But, man, could you erase some of those struggles? Go on the road where you need to lean on that run game if you're Joey Aguilar and put on a show. We talked about this last year. Mississippi State ran all over Florida like a week or two prior to Tennessee playing Florida. And Tennessee didn't necessarily run all over Florida either. So, I mean, we've seen this situation before, but the last time out, Florida allowed 237 yards rushing against them. Now, we'll see who's back. I know there's been some guys that's been banged up for Florida all season long. I think Jaden Ball is a good running back for Florida. DJ Lagway, we talked about him. You got a couple of Aiden Mizell at wide receiver. Know him from the recruiting ranks. Tony Livingston. Eugene the third has not been active for most of the year. I know he's dealing with some issues. They have a defensive lineman that's really, really good, a potential first, second round pick that's missed the last couple of games. But I mean, there's talent all over that roster, and they haven't played at their stadium in over a month. October 18th, the last time they played at their stadium. So they're going to be fired up, and they're going to be talked about all week long like, hey, we do not lose to Tennessee. We do not lose to that team wearing orange. So my best advice would be don't just look at the box scores. Don't just look at the records. Don't just look at the standings. And most of you guys know this simply because we've watched this game so many times. And Tennessee, who again this year is the better football team, go down to the Swamp and find ways to lose. Can that be different this year? Can Tennessee improve to 8-4? Can Tennessee pull off its first win in the Swamp for the first time since 2003? If Tennessee can't do that against a 3-7 ball club, again, I said don't look at that, but here I am looking at it. If Tennessee, it's like now or never, right? It's like now or never, but you just got to focus and realize, talent perspective, this is a really good team, and defensively, they've been pretty stout all year long for the most part. So we will dive way much more into Florida as the week goes along. We'll talk with Brandon Olson at some point, Locked On Gators. We'll have some guests on. It's going to be a big week for the show, so I encourage you guys to come right back here, Locked On Vols. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family members. This is the Tennessee Football Podcast. We go year-round every single weekday morning when you wake up after football games as well. Tell everybody this is the spot for them, your one-stop shop. Every single morning to get your day started off right. If you want to know the latest in Tennessee football news and entertainment, this is Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here. Send in those questions for tomorrow's mailbag show at _Cainer and at Locked On Vols. Until then, we'll see you later. Have a great rest of your Monday, everybody.